So there's a military conflict happening thousands of miles away. But you know what? Its shockwaves are already hitting the US economy. Today, we're going to break down exactly how a war in Iran connects directly to your wallet.
It seems pretty disconnected, right? I mean, a conflict on the other side of the planet making your milk and bread more expensive? Well, that's the big question we're digging into today, connecting the dots all the way from military action to the checkout line at your local store.
So where does this all kick off? Well, what started as a regional military campaign is now, believe it or not, quickly turning into a global economic event. And it's happening a lot faster than anybody really expected.
We're just 6 days into this conflict, and in response to military strikes, Iran has started targeting oil tankers and threatening ships. Now make no mistake, this isn't just a military strategy, it's an economic one, and it's working. It has effectively paralyzed one of the most critical shipping lanes on the entire planet.
Okay, and this brings us to the first really big aha moment. The shutdown of this whole corridor is happening, but probably not in the way you're picturing. You can think of it as a kind of invisible blockade.
I mean, just look at this. The effect was immediate and it was total. Marine traffic, which is the absolute lifeblood of trade in this part of the world, has basically just stopped, ground to a halt. You've got hundreds of ships just sitting there, dead in the water, unable to pass. And here's what's really going on behind the scenes. We might imagine a bunch of Navy ships physically blocking a way, but the reality? It's a lot more subtle and honestly, just as powerful. The major insurance companies simply canceled their war risk coverage. And if you're shipping company, no insurance means you are not going through. So it's not missiles that close the strait, it's paperwork.
And that, right there, is the textbook definition of an economic choke point. It's this tiny, narrow channel that a massive amount of global trade has to squeeze through. Now, in peacetime, that's super efficient, but in times of conflict, it becomes this glaring, massive vulnerability.
All right, so with that choke point basically sealed shut, let's follow the chain to the first place most of us are going to feel this, the price we pay at the pump.
You have to understand, the numbers here are just staggering. We're talking 20 million barrels of oil every single day. That's about a fifth of the entire planet's daily oil habit. So when that flow suddenly stops, the market doesn't just react, it totally freaks out.
And yep, you can see that freak out priced in right here. The second that disruption started, the price for both Brent and WTI crude oil just shot through the roof. See, markets don't wait around for things to settle, they price in the risk immediately.
And this is how that global panic translates to our actual lives. The national average for gas is already way up. And if this thing keeps going, those forecasts of $4 a gallon gas, they're not just possible, they're probably going to happen.
But listen, this isn't just about gas. It never is. An energy shock is like the first domino to fall in a long chain that ends up hitting the cost of, well, just about everything.
So how does that work? It's a pretty clear chain reaction, actually. First, higher energy prices mean it costs more to make things like fertilizer. Then, higher fertilizer costs mean it's more expensive to grow our food. You add on top of that the higher cost to transport the food, and by the time it gets to the grocery store shelf, the price has gone up. It's a straight line from that strait in the Middle East right to your grocery bill.
And this quote from the source material just says it all, doesn't it? For most people, this isn't some abstract geopolitical event. It's just that blunt, frustrating feeling you get at the checkout counter when you realize, everything costs more, again.
So when the cost of everything starts to surge, you can bet the entire financial system starts to feel the pressure. It forces the people in charge to make some really tough calls, and it creates a whole new set of risks for all of us.
I mean, just look at the no-win situation the Federal Reserve is in. They can keep interest rates high to try and fight off this new inflation, but that slams the brakes on the economy and makes your mortgage and credit card bills more expensive. Or they could hold rates steady to protect economic growth, but then they risk letting this inflation get sticky and become permanent. There are literally no good options here.
And in the meantime, the market is already picking winners and losers. Airlines and other fuel-heavy industries, they get hammered. Energy companies, they do great. But there's a hidden risk here you've got to watch. If those big sovereign wealth funds in the Gulf need cash for the war, they might start selling off their U.S. assets. And that kind of sell-off could directly hit pensions and even your retirement accounts. On top of all that, you're seeing this conflict drive a real wedge between allies. Europe, for example, just went through a massive energy crisis, and they are extremely nervous about going through another one. That hesitation is already causing some serious diplomatic tension, which just goes to show you that economic fears can be just as powerful as any military alliance.
So after all this, what's the big picture? What does it all tell us? Well, it reveals a pretty fundamental truth about what power really means in the modern, interconnected world we live in.
You know, the key variable in all of this is time. If this whole thing lasts for just a few days, okay, the markets get jumpy, but it's a temporary shock. If it drags on for weeks, the risk of a full-blown recession starts to climb. And if this goes on for months, well, then it stops being just an economic problem and starts being a stress test for the entire global system.
And this, right here, is the key takeaway. The United States has unbelievable military power, right? But it cannot order an insurance guy in London to ignore risk. It can't command a CEO of a shipping company in Tokyo to just sail his ships into a war zone. Military power has its limits when it comes up against cold, hard market realities.
And that leaves us with this one last, really powerful thought to chew on. In a world disconnected, maybe real power isn't just about your ability to win a fight. Maybe it's measured by your ability to guarantee the stability and openness that our entire economy relies on. It's not just about what you can destroy, but about what you can keep open and running.